Why did Sparta appear so invincible and overwhelmingly powerful? To understand Sparta's might, we must examine the unique social, cultural, and military structures that set this city-state apart from the rest of Greece. In Sparta, war was not a necessity, it was a virtue. At age 7, boys were taken from their families and thrust into the merciless agoge system, a regime where military drills, physical endurance, and survival skills were the foundation of life. In the agoge, a Spartan child learned to sleep in the cold, endure hunger, and embrace pain. Weakness was neither tolerated nor forgiven, but Sparta's strength didn't stem solely from the agoge. Much of its power relied on a rigid class hierarchy. Only 10 to 15% of Sparta's population were full citizens and professional warriors. The rest consisted of non-citizens, perioikoi, and a vast underclass of enslaved farmers, the Helots, who made up nearly 70% of the population. They labored, produced food, and fueled the economy. So Spartans could focus on one thing: war. Every facet of a Spartan man's life was engineered for battle. Politics, religion, art, even family all served the army. This absolute focus on military readiness gave Sparta a strength few in Greece could rival. Sparta was powerful because its society was built on fear, discipline, and total obedience. Not for freedom, not for wealth, but purely for survival in a world of enemies. Wasn't slavery common in ancient Greece? So what made Sparta different? True, slavery was widespread across ancient Greece. In Athens, slaves bore the weight of economic transactions, crafts, and even household chores. But slavery in Sparta took on an entirely different form and meaning. Here, a slave wasn't merely labor, they were a vital pillar of the political and military order. Sparta's enslaved class, known as Helots, weren't acquired through trade or war, but were systematically and generationally enslaved. They primarily descended from conquered peoples like the Messenians, who, after defeat in war, were collectively enslaved under Sparta's regime. Unlike Athens, where slaves were typically private property, Helots belonged to the state, toiling on lands allotted to Spartan citizens. Yet Sparta's true distinction lay in its rule through terror. The Spartans didn't just exploit the Helots, they relentlessly suppressed them through institutionalized violence. Each year, Sparta formally declared war on its Helots, legitimizing their slaughter. Secret death squads of Spartan youths, called the Cryptaia, infiltrated Helot villages at night to assassinate the strong or rebellious. The goal wasn't mere obedience, it was to ensure the Helots lived in constant fear. Thus, while slavery existed throughout Greece, nowhere else was it as systematic, militarized, and fear-driven as in Sparta. Here, the slave wasn't just an economic tool, they were the foundation of a society engineered for perpetual war. What if one day the Helots stopped plowing the fields, stopped harvesting the crops, stopped carrying grain to the storerooms? Could Sparta survive? The answer is terrifyingly simple: not for long. Sparta was built on the backs of a class that held no power, yet bore the weight of its entire existence. The Helots grew the army's food, tilled the land, wove the cloth, and sustained the local economy. In truth, a Spartan citizen was neither merchant nor craftsman nor farmer, he was only a warrior. And a warrior without bread is the most useless man on the battlefield. Now imagine it, on an ordinary day, the Helots laid down their tools. The fields turned fallow, the granaries empty, and the shield-bearing ranks of Sparta suddenly lacked the strength to raise their spears. Order collapses. Bellies grow hollow. The fear that once enforced discipline now sparks rebellion. In reality, this very terror of uprising haunted Sparta like a shadow. The Helots outnumbered Spartan citizens by many times. That's why a portion of Sparta's army stood ready, not against foreign enemies, but to crush the enemy within. If the Helots ever united, if they ever refused to work, if they simply disobeyed, Sparta's legend of invincibility would have crumbled into myth within weeks. But what became of the Helots? Did these nameless, faceless slaves, the silent pillars of Sparta's power, ever taste freedom, or did they vanish into the shadows of history? Before I answer, hit that like button, it helps bring you more deep dives like this. The truth. The Helots never stopped fighting back, even if history rarely heard their voices. Revolt simmered for centuries. The largest, the Great Messenian Revolt, erupted after a catastrophic earthquake in the 5th century BCE. It brought Sparta to its knees, so desperate they begged rival Athens for help. Yet even when crushed, the Helots haunted Sparta's nightmares. Fear of them rotted Sparta from within. When your own people are the greatest threat, military focus shatters, social unity collapses. Then came 371 BCE, Sparta's crushing defeat at Leuctra. Thebes, Sparta's nemesis, marched into Messenia and declared the Helots free. After centuries of bondage, they walked their ancestral land not as silent laborers, but as liberated people. Yes, the Helot story was long written in darkness, but in the end, their defiance echoed through time, a reminder, no oppression, no matter how brutal or enduring, lasts forever. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to Maria's Time Machine YouTube channel for more videos like this.